Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the hidden stories behind company filings. And today it looks like Centuri Holdings might just be trying to bury a not so great financial announcement in a pile of formalities. Scroll Stiffen report påpassant till section 13015 du dops of the SE Exchange Acts of 1934 scroll. So today we're diving into Centuri Holdings Form 8K. Think of this as a really important update a company has to give the public when something significant happens, and this one dropped on August 6th, 2025. It's essentially a heads up that they're releasing some news, likely about their financial performance. Scrollers report, date of earliest event reported. Carbet 6, 2025 scrolls. The key date here is August 6th, 2025, which tells us this filing is directly related to events that happened on or around that day. Scroll Centuri Holdings Inc. Cal's exact name of registrant as specified in its charter, says scrolled in its charter services. Industry essentially building and maintaining pipelines, power lines, and all that essential stuff that keeps our lights on and our homes heated. It's a pretty critical but often overlooked sector. Scroll common stock. $0 era 1 euro per share. Par value ekiansi tiro kaku show. Chow Youth tells us that Centuri Holdings, or CTR as you'll see it on stock tickers, is a publicly traded company. Their shares are listed and traded on the New York Stock Exchange, which means we can all keep an eye on their performance. The main event in this filing is all about the company's results of operations and their financial condition. They're giving us a peek behind the curtain at how they're doing financially. This item on Form 8K is typically used to disclose earnings releases or other significant financial news right as it happens. This part is a bit of legalese. It basically means they're providing this information, but they're not technically filing it in a way that exposes them to certain legal liabilities. It's a way for them to share news without the same level of commitment or accountability as a formal SE filing. Think of it as a careful way of sharing information. Scroll Exhibit 99.1's press release of Centuri Holdings Inc. dated August 6, 2025 scroll. And here's the crux of it. The real juicy details are likely in Exhibit 1999.1, which is the actual press release they issued on August 6th. That's where you'll find the specifics of their financial performance. This 8K is just the cover letter for that press release, and scroll Kenyal Holdings Sing T, date August 6, 2025, cabals by Castless Gregory A. Eisenstock, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. When the CFO signs off on a filing like this, especially with an 8K announcing financial results, you know it's something the company feels is critical to communicate at that moment. Now, let's talk about the actual story here. While this 8K doesn't contain detailed financial tables itself, it acts as a signal. Companies typically file 8Ks on this item to announce earnings or significant financial events. The fact that they're doing this on August 6th and it's an update strongly suggests they are releasing their quarterly, or more likely their second quarter 2025 financial results. We need to look at that press release, Exhibit 99.1, to get the real numbers. But based on the timing and the nature of the filing, we can infer they are communicating their performance for the period ending around June 30th, 2025. While we don't have the numbers right here in this document, imagine this. If a company like Centuri, which operates in infrastructure, is reporting, we'd be looking for things like revenue growth, profit margins, any changes in their debt and how their upcoming projects are progressing. Were there any major wins, any significant cost overruns? Did they secure new contracts that will fuel future growth? Think about it from a Warren Buffett perspective. Is the company's underlying business getting stronger? Are they earning more than they spend? Is their revenue growing consistently, or are they just shuffling numbers around? For a company like Centuri, a strong result would mean seeing revenue from their construction and maintenance services climbing, perhaps due to increased investment in utility upgrades or new infrastructure projects across the US. On the flip side, a weak result might show stagnant or declining revenue, perhaps because of project delays, increased competition, or higher material costs that they couldn't pass on to their clients. Any talk of cost-cutting measures or a more conservative outlook in the press release would be a red flag. Also, keep an eye on their backlog of work. A growing backlog is usually a good sign for infrastructure companies, as it provides visibility into future revenue. The context here is crucial. The infrastructure sector is often seen as a stable, albeit cyclical, industry. Government spending on infrastructure, like the bipartisan infrastructure law, can be a significant tailwind. So if Centuri is reporting strong numbers, it could indicate they are effectively capitalizing on these opportunities. If they're not, despite these potential tailwinds, it raises questions about their execution or competitive positioning. Now, looking at this filing as a whole, it's a form of corporate communication. Companies use 8Ks to ensure timely disclosure of material information. This filing essentially says, hey, we've got important financial news, check out our press release. It's not the news itself, but the official announcement that news is coming. It's also interesting to note the repeated mentions of emerging growth company. This is a designation for companies that have less than a certain amount of revenue and have not been around for very long. Companies with this status can take advantage of certain eased regulatory requirements. If Centuri is still claiming this status, it tells us they are relatively new and perhaps still growing into their full potential, or maybe their revenue hasn't quite hit the thresholds to shed that label. So what's my take on this filing? This 8K itself is merely a signpost. It's not the substance, it's the official notification that Centuri Holdings is putting out financial news. The real story, the good or the bad, is contained within the press release that's attached as Exhibit 99.1. Without that press release, we're only seeing the announcement of the announcement. The fact that the CFO is stamping it suggests that the information being released is material, meaning it's important enough that investors would want to know about it. It's a signal to pay very close attention to what they're saying in that associated press release. The shall not be deemed to be filed clause is standard, but highlights their strategy of providing information without the same legal entanglements as a full filing. In terms of company direction, we'll really need to see those numbers. Are they growing their revenue? Are their profits improving or shrinking? Are they managing their costs effectively? If they're winning big projects and executing well, they could be a solid investment. If they're struggling with project execution, facing cost pressures, or losing out on bids, then the outlook would be much more cautious. We need to look for any commentary in that press release about future prospects, any guidance they provide. Are they optimistic about the rest of the year? Do they see challenges ahead? That's where the real insights into their strategy and the risks they face will lie. The infrastructure sector can be a good place to be, but only if you are a well-run, efficient company that can deliver projects on time and on budget. Alright, that's our breakdown of why this Centuri Holdings 8K is important. Even though it's just the announcement, what's your take on what this means for the company? And what are you looking for in their financial press release? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. And if you haven't already, don't forget to check out our Discord channel linked in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.